20.01 enhancements that are included in our latest release. This release is now available for upgrade, so if you're interested in the upgrade, please create a ticket and we'll get that process started for you. All right. In case we have anybody new here, just a quick introduction. This is the customer success team, and we run these monthly webinars for you and are assigned to each of you to help ensure your success on the product. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or suggestions for future topics on webinar. Also, just a reminder, we will have everybody on mute to reduce any background noise. So if you do have any questions, please use the Q&A window and we will answer them throughout the webinar and have some time saved at the end to wrap up with any remaining. We will also be recording this session, so if you want to access that later on the support site or our YouTube channel, you can do that as well. Okay. And with that, I'll hand it over to Jeanine to get us started here.
Great, thanks Megan. Good afternoon, everyone. So the first enhancement with the 20.01 release is probably more important or more pertinent to your IT area as well as our technical support team. As you know, we do have the daily processes that come in for your IP, POS, and OT files, and each one is always tagged with an audit ID. We are now displaying this in the dashboard so that if there are any issues with one of the data feeds, it's just that much faster for the IT and tech support teams to know which audit ID created the issue. As well, that audit ID will also be tagged if there are any interface errors. You will see that there as well. And with that, I'll pass it on to Linda.
So in MAPS product analysis, we've added the ability to manage data across multiple divisions versus an individual division. So users will now be able to add products and SKUs to offers in multiple divisions and be able to analyze that data across divisions. So clients who manage separate channels within multiple divisions, it's going to allow them to be able to see how these products perform at the company level versus just that individual division. So there's a new icon that's been added to the view ribbon. So it's called Show All Divisions. You will need to have this icon selected. And then within the analysis results section of your screen, division has been added to the offer ID row. So you're now going to be able to see it as division, offer ID, and year, and the information will sort in that fashion. So clients who create a single offer that basically they use to represent all their channels or divisions, and then this is used for assortment planning or forecasting for the entire season, will be able to use that this concept then to be able to assort that offer across all divisions with the product analysis screen. So this is a big win for clients who have been using time-based offers, because then they can hit all the offers, all divisions, versus just having to go in and assign a comparable offer for each division.
The next enhancement here is also related to the MAPS planning screen. We've also added the ability now to sum up selected cells on screen here. So prior to this release, we had this ability in PLF. So this has now been added on screen within MAPS. And you can sum up your data at the category, subcategory, or product level grid. So you see on screen here, I have highlighted a group of unit cells, and then on the lower right corner, you'll have the average count and sum of that data. So just a quick way for you to sum up units or cost while you're working your assortment plans for a group of items.
So the other enhancement we have, this one technically is 1907, not 20.01, but we wanted to just reiterate the amount of new user fields that we've added. These can be interfaced or managed in the application, and you define them in the administration module. So we have added these additional user fields to product master, item master, and offer. And these are great for you to be able to utilize most popular product attributes. So these are available in both maps and product level forecasting. I've got a snapshot here at the bottom of the screen from maps, so you can see the columns that have been pulled in. And what's great about these is that you can group and or sort on these various different user fields that are really going to assist you in your product assortment, in your forecasting, in and any kind of analysis that you're going to do. On the next slide is an example. If you haven't made the adjustments yet, you'll get this message until you do. So what's really important is when we add additional fields such as these, that you go into your column layout and pull them in and resave your view. If you decide that you don't want them, you still need to go into your column view and save it so that this message will go away. But we just really want to make sure that you have the option to start taking advantage of these additional user fields. The other, not so much an enhancement, but a fix that we did, which has been a lifesaver for most everybody. In the product level forecasting screen, in the past, if you made any changes in your mix percents, you would not be able to save and publish this change that you've made without going in and retyping over your forecast units or revenue or whatever value in order to make that save and publish icon available. We have fixed that finally, so you can directly save and publish after you've gone into the mix percent screen. It is available on the home ribbon as well as available on the quick access toolbar. It's one of those icons. It's probably makes sense to put on the quick access toolbar so you don't have to go back to the home tab while you're in product level forecasting.
Thanks, Jeanine. So also within 20.01, we've added a new audit log or table basically to monitor the real-time forecasts when you're doing a save and publish in PLF. So the new table is called FMFH Real-Time Q Audit, and it is going to basically keep track of the priority that the save and publish was assigned, who requested it, when it was requested, and it'll track the completion dates. There's also a field on there for messaging, so in the event something is pending or if there's an error, you'll see a status and a message that goes along with that status. So when this report is first created, if you want to see the information by time, you'll need to go into the report, highlight either the start and end dates, and do a right mouse click and go into formatting and select the date but also the time format. So that'll show for you as far as the amount of time. So this is actually going to give us great visibility to performance that's related to the real-time publishing on the PLF screen. So Megan, I'll turn it back over to you.
Great, thanks, Linda. Okay, the next two enhancements I'm going to cover are related to SPO. The first one is the option that we have this new delivery option within the coverage tab on the vendor order review screen. So prior to this release, when you had your delivery set at a need date, your receipt would be set up to come in 1 week prior. So with this latest release, we now have the ability for you to determine what is that number of weeks you'd like to receive the merchandise prior to the need. So this is just going to give you that extra cushion so that you are receiving your merchandise in time to avoid out of stock conditions, or if you want to evaluate any new merchandise for quality assurance based off of your determination here. So under the delivery box, you'll have the option of determining this for your lead time or your need date. And on screen here, I have this set up for 3 weeks before. So the merchandise that I have selected here based off of the status is everything under the new status. All of this merchandise will then be set up to be received 3 weeks prior to that need date. So just giving you that extra cushion to avoid any out of stock conditions here. The other option, this is actually another enhancement from 1907, but something we thought worth mentioning again is the addition of this new parameter for the sold last week and average demand. So within the vendor order review screen, we now have 2 additional columns for the total company average demand and the sold last week. And now based off of this new parameter, you have the option of setting this up to be either true or false. So if it is set up at the true level, this is at a company level parameter, the values on screen are going to be calculated for these new fields based off of the warehouse selected. Versus if you have it set up as false, the values will be calculated considering the units for all the warehouses. So this is the default method, and you then have the ability to control this parameter and how the data will be calculated on screen. Okay, and I'll hand it back over to Linda here.
Thank you. So for the multi-echelon customers, we've added a new safety stock parameter that gives them a little bit more functionality. So for warehouses where the warehouse is fulfilling demand for the customer, but that same warehouse also has ME demand that's rolling up to it, we have added the ability to determine how safety stock is calculated. So in the past, it has always been calculated on the total demand, that of the demand the warehouse fulfilled plus ME demand. So now you will have the ability to add set this parameter so it can be calculated on specifically just the demand that warehouse is fulfilling and not the ME demand. So this basically will let the customers assign different safety stock levels per warehouse. So the new parameter involved is MS, SS, include ME demand, and if it's set to true, it's going to calculate the way it does today for all demand inclusive of ME. If you set that parameter to false, it will then only include the demand that it is fulfilling for that, for the customers that are serviced by that warehouse. So great option to add flexibility. They can manage multiple safety stock at multiple levels. So another enhancement is for the venture customers. So in the past, venture was only allowed to forecast in the future 52 weeks. But for clients that have very long lead times or very high MOQs, we've needed to increase that. And so now you have the option to set it to a maximum of 104 weeks. So one item with that is if you do change this parameter, we encourage you, please talk to your CS team member, because we do need to take a look at the daily processes to make sure you have enough runway, because this is going to increase your venture runtime. So forecasts calculated when we look at the 52 or 53 to 104 weeks is if you're using Sally or Sally Simple, basically same as last year, those two forecast methods are going to basically duplicate weeks 1 through 52 in weeks 53 through 54, or excuse me, 53 through 104. So, and with that, I will turn it over to Stuart for the demo.
Thanks, Linda. This is Stuart. I'm going to connect to a sample dashboard at 20.0, and we'll take a look at some of these enhancements. Here you can see in the daily process, we have these audit IDs that are listed here. Again, this just gives us some additional information. Let me go into maps. So in maps planning, let me go back up to the top level. We're able to look at the sum of selected cells. So if I click here and highlight, you could see at the bottom, you could see the average, the count, or the sum of these cells. And you could go across different sections here. So here I'm going across budget or comparable. You could hold the control key down and select other ones that are there, or shift and be able to see that. So you could see that at the category level, which is what I'm at now, or the subcategory level. Again, here I'm looking at the average, so this is showing me the average of the gross margin for this particular one. And we could also go down to the product level. So here you could see the same thing. We could go in there and we could highlight cells and see the average. Just make sure that in your view menu, you have the status bar highlighted, because that's where it shows that are the ones that are here. All right, let me go into another one. All right, product analysis. We added the ability in 2001 to see multiple divisions in product analysis. So if I go in and highlight, hold on a minute. I could go in and highlight one or more cells and go to product analysis. And you see here in the view screen, you could either show current division or show all the divisions. So if we show all divisions, you'd be able to see the divisions down here. So the first number is a division. Actually, I could show you the status bar. We're in division 30, but we're able to add 2 other divisions. So here's division 1, and here's division 3. So starting with 2001, you can now see these divisions. You could add products to these divisions, and also go in and see like analysis. So if we went into revenue, we could go in and see the revenue across these divisions. All right, the next thing I'm going to cover is the user fields. It's not new functionality, but up until 19.7, we only had 8 user fields. We now added 20. So now there's 20 product master and item master fields. And you'd be able to customize and see them all in the grid, both in the maps product grid, also in PLF. As we mentioned, it's good to go in there and make a change to the field labels, which is in administration. So if you go to administration field labels, you could see these different labels that we have, where these things would make sense to you. Now, you could either interface these fields from your host system, or you could change them in the application. But you can go in there and change these. So things like basic, fabric, in the product master, item master, you may have different things that are here. So it's good because this does make sense when you're taking a look at the grid to be able to sort and group and everything else. Now you can change these directly in these fields. You would have to go into the product master. Okay. So in the product master, I could go in there, and if I wanted to, I could go in and change this. And again, as long as it's set up to do that. And then you would see this here. So you'd be able to see this, and again, you could go in and group by these fields, which is good. I'm going to go to product level forecast. As we mentioned, the sum of cells also exists here. You could also see your different user fields. You go in there and customize these to see these different fields, which is good information to have when you're looking in PLF and in maps. The other thing we spoke about was save and publish. So before 20.1, if you went into mix percent and made a change, it wouldn't trigger that save and publish. You'd have to go in and retype over the units. But now if I go into a particular offer, and let's say I apply and do a recalc and save, I could save to one or more offers here. Hold on while it's updating these offers. And now when I exit and it refreshes, the Save and Publish icon will be highlighted. So you see here, either from here or in the home, Save and Publish. So now I could save and publish those offers. It actually only did the one here, this September C. I don't know why it didn't do the other ones. It may be those other ones were not valid. Actually, let me go in and try another offer. You have the option to right click and publish the product. It's not letting me do that one. Let's try this one. Okay. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to go on to the next, which is the dynamic report, this real-time Q audit. This will show us who updated the real-time publish, when it was done. You have the filters here. You could look at product ID or filter on product ID. So if I hit retrieve and I put here as not null, you could see that this is the one that I just updated. This is actually a different time in this dashboard. This is the one that I just updated in these two offers. Okay, so you can see start and end time, status of C. If you're doing a real-time publish for a number of different offers, and if it has a large number of SKUs, you know, sometimes you go to materials planning and it says that it's still pending. So that's what the status would be here. You would see a P status. And then if you retrieve it and refresh it again, it would then come in and show you the completed status. So actually, the first time you do that, you could see that there's some of these empty ones that are here. So it's possible you may have this because earlier there was some save and publish done, but it's only, you know, now in this 20.1 that we could go in, see the audit ID, and then see when this was done. All right, I'm going to go to vendor order review. Now we spoke about the sold last week and historic weeks. The average demand, we don't have sold last week in this dashboard, but based on that parameter, your average demand could either be for this particular destination, this one warehouse, or all warehouses. Okay, so that is one thing in 19.7, and we're just reiterating it here. The coverage option that we have, or the delivery option, is added to 20.1. So you see, you could set this at different levels. You could set it at the company level or a status. Here I set it for this particular vendor and the status. So you can see how this is highlighted here. So my new products for this vendor, for the delivery option, could either be lead time, need date, and now we have this new icon added here, which is weeks. So I could bring it in earlier than my need date. A lot of times you may want to do that. You may have a new offer coming up. You may have a new offer coming up that you don't know when the demand's going to drop, or you may have a new product that you want to bring in earlier for QA. So let me go into materials planning so you could take a look and see how this works. So you see here, I have demand coming in week 6, but I have this coming in 2 weeks earlier than demand. This will override your lead time, okay? So however many weeks that you set it, that's where it's gonna come in. But I might not want it to come in just at lead time. If I set it for lead time, it would come in week 5. If I set it for need date, it would come in week 6 since I have this demand. But setting it 2 weeks prior, it's gonna come in here. And then I could get that in early. Hopefully I'll be able to, you know, the vendor will be able to get it for me, but there's an option that you could set, you know, particularly for new items. I'm just going to mention the safety stock. Again, that safety stock method, depending on how you set it here, I don't have anything really set up within the dashboard itself, but the safety stock, depending on the parameter, will either just look at this warehouse or it would look at this warehouse and include the ME demand. So again, that's a parameter that we have set up. And the last enhancement is Inventure. So if we go to administration and reforecast schedule, we can now edit and change the number of days to forecast. Before 20.1, the future forecast was limited to 52 weeks. Here you could go to 104 weeks. We did it at 74. So basically you could go in and edit and make that change to see it at 104 weeks. Let's look at a particular example. So here you could see the forecast graph for this. There's the current week, which is week 36. Normally, you would only see up to 36, but now we could see it pass. So we have this now set for up to 74 weeks, or you could go up to 104 weeks. And you see what the pattern is here. Here I have it same as last year, simple. And if you go in, you could see there's your last year. There's the current forecast, or here's the current date, the future forecast, and you see after the 52 weeks, it repeats the pattern. So it's basically just going to repeat that same pattern. All right, any questions on anything we've discussed so far?
Nothing? Oh, looks like something just popped in. Yes, we have a question. Will changing forecast schedule impact all users?
Yes, it will. There's no way to make this reforecast schedule. This administration, the reforecast schedule is for all users, and there's no way to really change it for, any individual product or user, for each of the ventures that you have set up. So there's no way to change it. What users can do, though they may want to see it, is to go in to change the option on the graph. Again, if you're looking at your forecast, you may want to see out that far. If you want to limit the graph, you could just put your forecast out here 52 weeks. But changing that will change it for all users.
Okay, thank you. That's all that we've had come through.
Let me get back to the... Okay, Megan.
Okay. All right, so looks like we don't have any further questions. If anything does come to mind, just reach out to your CSC and we can help you out there. We'll wrap up today's session. Before we go, just a reminder, we do have our webinar topics selected for next month. So we will be reviewing the product wizard, navigating and adding placeholders. So that is scheduled for March 26th, a month from today. So with that, then we'll wrap up today's session. Thank you all for joining us and have a great rest of your afternoon.